Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Notre Dame fans, whenever you are tuning in to this week's Notre Dame recruiting update. If you're watching live, you're watching back, you're listening via podcast, Kyle and I are very appreciative of you guys making us a part of your day. It is Friday, June 14th, the live time we're recording this. It's 1:01 p.m. Eastern time, and it really is the heart of our busyness, Kyle. This is it. This is crunch time. We're talking about visitors who were just on campus. We're talking about guys who are on campus right now, and quite the busy period. Kyle, I'll tell you what's crazy to start. The virtual background stuff you can do on Zoom and stuff these days. I would have thought you're sitting in Tyler Horka's apartment if I didn't know any better. That's certainly what it looks like. But it really is crazy technology these days. But you doing okay, brother?
Yeah, man. Our boy Tyler Horka hooked us up with this awesome background, and I thought we had to pop it up on today's show. But no, just all kidding aside, I am live from the Tyler Horka Studios in Mishawaka, Indiana, after being in South Bend earlier this morning to see 13 Notre Dame recruits making on in campus. 11 of those guys commits. We'll dive in much deeper to that later on in the show, but I am in South Bend today.
Yeah. Drew says smash the like now, so folks, please do that. Riley says let's go, happy Friday. Murdercap says happy Friday, everybody. JG as well. Michael Miller wants good news about Ivan Taylor. We'll give you the latest going into his visit. Yeah,
on the show.
For folks watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to our channel for more content. I'm fired up about the weekend. What's interesting, Kyle, is that Saturdays during official visits are I feel like we can actually breathe and chill a little bit because what do we have? We're not hitting up a lot of people on a Saturday during an official visit. We're letting those, we're not going to bother the various sources and the kids. So I'm looking forward to a good chill weekend, play some games, watch some sports. It's going to be a good time. So looking forward to that. Let's start with so here's what we're going to do for today's show. And if I haven't said, I think I did tell people to hit the thumbs up on this video if you're watching on YouTube. So yeah, please do that. We're going to start the show. We're going to talk about the midweek official visitors. There was 3 big ones. Then we're going to go to the 13 guys they have on this weekend. And then we're going to talk about some various 2026 and even a 2027, who I think is pretty notable at the end of the show. So it was 13 last weekend, right, Kyle? Official visitors?
Yep, 13.
So 13 plus 13 this weekend in 3 midweeks. So that's 29 official visitors. So if you're wondering, how many prospects they're going to be able to take in this class, well, it's not going to be more than 29. I'm thinking it's going to be right around 25. I don't think in the high school ranks they've signed more than 23 under Freeman. So 20, a full boat of 25 might actually be on the higher end for Marcus Freeman and company. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see, obviously, who they end up with and how many they take in this cycle. But Kyle, let's go to the midweek official visitors. We've been able to talk to all of these guys. We have stories up on each of them, whether it was I talked to him, you talked to him, or Steve Wiltfong, obviously someone who knows the Notre Dame market very well. One of the goats of recruiting coverage, covered the Fighting Irish from 2000 to 2010, if I recall correctly. And so he got stories up on all of them. I got to interview Jadon Blair and Jay Blair, his father, who played at East Carolina and then in the NFL and even in NFL Europe for a while. That story is almost done. Did not get to finish it before the show, but you can find that at blueandgold.com. So let's start with Jadon Blair. And yeah, Kyle, it's like, I don't want to have this come across the wrong way. So help me if you kind of pick up what I'm putting down. But this was not it's an important visit anytime you have a big time 4-star, on 3 top 100 player on campus. But He has done everything at Notre Dame. He's been to a game. He went to Ohio State game last year. He went up a time or before that, maybe the cookout last summer. He made it back for 4 days in April. 4 full days he was on campus. And then for this official visit, it was more of a, hey, we know you, from between, the coaching staff and Blair, we know Notre Dame. It was more about just like hanging out and strengthening more connections. So, and talking to the Blair family and then talking to sources on the Notre Dame side of things, there's not like a big, oh, we made this big move, big pitch, big revelation, nothing like that, because that's already been established. And from what Jay Blair told me at the On3 Elite Series a couple weeks ago in Nashville, the official visits are more about Jadon getting a feel, just that gut feeling that recruits talk about. He already knows what he needs to know about each school. It's more about just that gut feeling. And for what it's worth, Jadon Blair told me that he has definitely some type of strong feeling at Notre Dame. So I think coming out of this trip, I think Notre Dame leads for Jadon. There's not some big revelation, some big change, some new pitch. It was just continuing to build that relationship with Mike Mickens. Jadon told me that his relationship with Mickens is stronger than what it was with O'Leary. You'll be able to find that article, blueandgold.com, later this afternoon. He's at Michigan right now, Florida State midweek, Penn State next weekend, and then July 5th decision. And Kyle, he will be announcing it with On3. I don't know if I've told you that, but that'll be really cool. So it'll be an On3 stream. If he ends up picking Notre Dame, you'll probably see me at the end of the stream. Well, I don't know if it's going to be Notre Dame yet. I think it's really tight between Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State. I will actually put Notre Dame at the top, Michigan 2, and then Penn State 3. But it is tight. Kyle, before we move on to the other guys, did you want to add anything on Blair? I'm sorry, Kyle. I muted you, bro. I had a little bit of feedback. You're good now.
No, you're sorry. Yeah, a couple thoughts on this. I mentioned this back when Jadon Blair visited back in April, that for all intents and purposes, that was his official visit to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They weren't going to see anything this weekend or hear anything that they didn't see or hear back in April. So the meaning behind this weekend's visit was pretty much just get around the other recruits, because there were more guys there than just the two on the screen that you had there. Deuce Knight, Notre Dame quarterback commit, was on campus. Edge rusher Chris Burgess, some 26 guys. They were all on campus, and I can tell you from being in South Bend today, all the players are there. They're all wandering around the Goog and around campus. So the big point for him to get back to South Bend was to see how he fits in with those guys. And I'm really looking forward to reading your update. I'm sure there's a little bit of a glimpse into that. I know Steve Wiltfong did some reporting on it as well. But the sense I kind of, from what I've gathered, is, and like you said, it's really not a big surprise, but I think we all kind of feel as a consensus that Notre Dame is a team to beat in this recruitment. Now they got to hold on. Michigan's going to make it tough on them this weekend. Florida State's going to try and make a move, and then, Penn State has that last visit, and it's getting super interesting with Michigan because they just picked up a commitment from Kanayo Winston today from the Washington, D.C. area. Highly talented safety who Notre Dame offered. Never got much progress on that recruitment, but Winston ends up committing to Michigan. And Michigan's also recruiting Notre Dame 4-star safety commit Ivan Taylor, who we expect to be in Ann Arbor next weekend. So very interesting development there on where Blair potentially fits on Michigan's board, because they're looking to flip Taylor and add Blair, whereas Notre Dame wants to absolutely keep Taylor in the class and add Blair to it. So we'll know by July 5th the team that gets his pledge, and I think for now that we like where Notre Dame stands.
I don't know a ton about Winston just because Notre Dame never was in the mix there, but between Taylor and Blair, while they're both safeties, they're just such different players. Like Blair is your not saying
do it all.
Yeah, he's Kyle Hamilton. Well, Taylor's do it all too, but they're just different do it all. Like Jadon Blair's more of your Kyle Hamilton type, like that long rangey safety who can also come up and make tackles. Taylor's shorter, but he is just a coverage fiend. Like you can play him at corner, nickel, say like really anywhere in the defensive backfield, and truly anywhere. Kyle, we saw him lock up a lot of defenders at Irish Invasion last year as a
player.
corner, and I got like Braylon Womack a couple weeks ago gave me Ivan Taylor vibes, just with safeties being able to lock up corners like that as well. Because again, a safety at a camp like that, there's no like safety work. You just go play man coverage, against a split out receiver, which you would not do in a real football game. But yeah, very interesting. So exciting times for Notre Dame safety recruiting with Blair, Jameer Joseph, and if they keep Ivan Taylor, which we will talk about him in just a little bit. 2 receivers also on campus. So when I wrote my article on John Anthony Hall from Fishers, Indiana, I noted that, did I just say safeties again? Receivers. I don't know what I said, but yeah, 2 receivers. So 2 receivers midweek, also Tuesday to Thursday. John Anthony Hall, in my article I wrote on him, I led the story with the end of the visit was unorthodox in my decade of covering recruiting. I don't think I've ever heard of this. He like wrapped up the recruiting part of his official visit, like his time on campus, I should say, with the football team at like 9 a.m. And then just went over to the basketball facility and took part in a team camp where you had several schools from in the state of Indiana working out, at a camp, some scrimmages and whatnot. And yeah, John Anthony Hall's Fishers High School was there. And so that was really interesting. Mike Brown and Marcus Freeman got to watch him. So yeah, never seen a kid leave his official visit to go play in a basketball camp at that school. Again, very interesting. And yeah, the visit went really well from what I'm told. He got to throw with Deuce Knight, which is interesting. So that also tells us that Deuce Knight has been on campus much more than just yesterday when all the recruits got to town. Deuce Knight has been spending, let's just say, a lot of time in South Bend this month. You know where he's not, Kyle? He's not in Oxford, Mississippi. But, Anywho, so John Anthony Hall, 4-star pass catcher, really good basketball player, excellent in I think it's long jump in track and field. He's very good there. So had a good first visit. I mean, he had told me that going into this trip, he's really only talked to Mike Brown. Like he hadn't had these, deep relationships or anything with Notre Dame because he just got the offer on May 31st. But it seemed like a really good first visit. And, he's looking to commit sometime after his official visits. He's fairly unpredictable. That's the feeling I'm getting. So it could be Notre Dame, but it wouldn't shock me if he, picked up an IU or a Purdue or something. Like he truly is unpredictable. But the feeling is that Notre Dame does lead for him coming out of that trip. But I don't feel strongly enough to put in a crystal ball, partly because currently I'm not feeling as loose with those. Sometimes I'm just like, let's just fire them out, man. I'm a little bit tighter on those after I've had a couple misses recently, but so not logging a John Anthony Hall prediction just yet. And then Dylan Robinson, 6'2", 190 pounds, from Bonita High School in is Laverne? Yeah, that's Southern California, I believe. He had a good trip. I'm told really, I mean, it's Utah, UCLA, Notre Dame, Washington. I think the latter 2 schools, Notre Dame and Washington, are the ones to keep the closest eye on. That's from what I was told by sources. Kyle, I know that's kind of the feeling you got from talking to Robinson himself. So anything that you want to share on John Anthony Hall and Dylan Robinson?
Well, with John Anthony Hall, his recruitment's just kind of going to come down to what he's prioritizing most. Isn't that right? Because I know he has the opportunity to play basketball in some capacity at the next level. And, Notre Dame just got in the mix. So it kind of seems like there still needs to be some clarity on both sides there.
Yeah, John Anthony Hall so I didn't actually get to talk to John Anthony. He spoke to a few reporters, including Blue and Gold's Jack Sobel. So I wrote the article up, and one of the reporters did ask him about basketball at the next level. And he was like, look, I love basketball, but I think if I really put my mind to football and I'm not playing 2 other sports, football's my best. So, yeah, he's he said right now my focus for the next level is just football.
Yeah, so I think that makes him more appealing to Notre Dame, even though, let's make no mistake, under Marcus Freeman, like he has allowed his guys to play multiple sports. You got Jordan Faison playing lacrosse. You got Drake Bowen playing baseball. The expectation as of now is Mark Zachary to be on the Notre Dame men's basketball team in some capacity.
Dude,
Zachary, he said, he really has to see how his first year in South Bend goes if for him to make a decision on if he actually wants to do that. And I think you and I are both in agreement that that's going to be a challenge for him.
very.
But Zachary, he is a hooper. He
Yeah.
is. He was born a hooper, and he loves basketball. That's his number one sport growing up. He just happens to be a better football recruit. So we'll see if Mark Zachary ends up playing basketball at Notre Dame, and then if John Anthony goes to Notre Dame, maybe he finds his way on
It's
the court.
just
But I
so hard, Kyle, it's just so hard to play basketball and football when the seasons overlap. Like, it's very difficult because one sport is getting the short end of the stick there. Either you can't do both at the same time. So you're either missing football, which your football coach ain't gonna be happy with that, or you're missing basketball. That's why it's very rare to see it happen. But I know it does happen here and there.
Yeah, I'm just speculating here, but I think the way that it could kind of work out for Zachary and even Hall is, basically after football season, off season, they join the team, they're on the scout team, maybe on the bench for some games. Like that's what I would that's what my gut tells me of what their involvement in the basketball program would be. I don't know because of the responsibilities with football if they could be, full-time
Yeah.
players with that program.
Okay. And then so Dylan Robinson, thoughts on him after
Yeah.
talking to him?
Yeah, I talked to him on what is today? Friday. So I talked to him on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, Thursday afternoon in California. And Notre Dame made a big move here. I don't think that was much of a surprise to me, though I know it caught off some of our subscribers caught them off guard on the Loose Emoji message board because they're like, "Oh wait, Dylan Robinson likes Notre Dame. Like we didn't see this coming." I'm trying to think like I don't know why. Like we've reported on Dylan Robinson in the past, and he liked Notre Dame a lot going into a visit. And he told me that Marcus Freeman, Mike Denbrock, Mike Brown, and Chad Bowden all made tremendous impression on him during this trip, and he just raved about his relationships with the coaching staff. I said all that's great, but like, was there anything else about the official visit that stuck out? And he's just like, basically, the sense I got was the people made Notre Dame, and that was a big part for him. He wants to get through this UCLA visit next weekend on from June 21st to the 23rd before making a decision. And as I put on the Loose Emoji message board yesterday, which if you want all this scoop ahead of time and more detailed scoop, our YouTube audience can go to blueandgold.com and subscribe $1 for 2 months using the code UND1. Or we also have a Father's Day special going on right now that's $45 off an annual subscription, and that's for all the fathers here. So, but the big one for our YouTube audience is using that code UND1 for $1 for 2 months. But yeah, as I was saying, just some of the scoop I put on Robinson on the board was, he kind of wants to get through these official visits and then make a decision from there. And my gut tells me that as things stand on June 14th, that if Notre Dame still has 2 wide receiver spots open in the 25 class, I think Dylan Robinson will claim one of them. Now, the thing that's working against him right now is he wants to hold off on making the decision until the end of or as early as the end of June. So we'll see if he moves that up, and if he does move up his timeline, I think that says a lot about where Notre Dame stands. I know Notre Dame would love to have him. Deuce Knight would love to have him. He's a perfect fit for Notre Dame on and off the field. Now it's just a matter of figuring out when he's going to pick.
It's wild right now because when you look at the players left on the board, the 4 receivers, Meadows, Hines, talk about those 2 guys in a minute, and then Robinson and Hall. I think Notre Dame's at least a co-leader for all 4 of them. Like top 2 at least, right? And then on the defensive side of the ball, Farimo and Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. I think Notre Dame leads for both of them, or at least a co-leader. And then Jadon Blair, I think Notre Dame leads there. And then Jameer Joseph, top 2, Penn State, Notre Dame, I think. It's kind of wild. I mean, they're not going to land all these guys because, 1, that's usually just not how it happens. And 2, they can't take all of them. But it is interesting just like how it's unfolding here down the stretch. Now there's 2 committed guys that Notre Dame absolutely needs to keep locked in. Well, I say needs. If they don't, the program's not going to crumble. The program's not going to crumble if they don't get them, but they are hugely important to the future of Notre Dame football. So that is the rundown. Jadon Blair, Dylan Robinson, John Anthony Hall officially visited Notre Dame from Tuesday to Thursday. Find stories on all of these guys right now at blueandgold.com. And I'll get my own Blair story up later this afternoon. Kyle did plug the Father's Day sale I want to make you guys aware of. Kyle, do you know when it ends? Is it just for this weekend?
I'm just going to say this. If you want to be urgent and proactive about this and read all our coverage, I would get this thing locked in by Sunday night. I think this deal is not going to last long. We are I know we have our great discounted promo code for our YouTube audience, but in terms of other sales that we have at On3, they're pretty limited. So I think this is probably going to be the best one we have in a while.
Yeah.
And Mike, if you don't mind real quick, I just want to brag for a second. If you can pull up the news section on our football recruiting side for Blue and Gold, because I think that you and I and, Steve Wolfong has also been complimenting as well. I don't think you're going to find more extensive coverage in Notre Dame football recruiting right now.
No. Yeah.
Reporting on surprise visitors being on campus this week. You've been filling people in with tons of scoop. And then, just to compliment our recruit coverage right now on the football side, there's not much going on. But Jack Sobel and Tyler Horka got exclusive interviews with both Notre Dame's coordinators. So you're not going to find this type of coverage anywhere else on the Notre Dame beat. There's a lot of outstanding talent and great reporters on Notre Dame beat. But I'm just really excited about the future at Blue and Gold and the coverage we have going into football season.
Yeah, I've been scrolling for a little while now, and we're just on Wednesday. Like that is let's count this. All right, just from Wednesday. We won't include my show, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 articles from Wednesday to Friday just on football recruiting. So if that deal is $75 for the year, let's just do boy math here, right? And any ladies watching, girl math, right? $75 for the year. I feel like just with those 19 articles, you're getting your bang for your buck just on 2 days with that $75 deal. And you get 363 other days, though, of Notre Dame football and recruiting coverage. So, yeah. And then you go to the message board, which is just always popping. I mean, look, here's our message board. We got people talking about UFC. Just so on topic, off topic stuff. Seriously, go to blueandgold.com and it's the place to be. Either do the trial for a couple months or just take the plunge for a year.
On3 is the place to be. And I am such a big fan of sports media. Like that, I was a fan of On3 before I joined On3. And now you look at everyone we have on board with Steve Wilfong and Chad Simmons. Those guys bring in the recruiting coverage, supplementing what we do. And Andy Staples as a national analyst. There's just so much to be excited about with our company. So I hope we all get to share that enthusiasm with our subscribers.
Yeah. Irish Steel asked when the magazine's coming. It ships out in July. Usually for our weekly and monthly magazines throughout the year, we're able to turn those around pretty quickly. But this is a full glossy, much bigger magazine that ships out to a lot more people than the weekly one during the football season, monthly in the off season. So it will take a little time, but it'll be worth the wait. I promise. So, uh, uh, Irish Steel, thank you very much for purchasing. Yeah, blueandgold.com. If you've never been a part of the message board, you can just lurk. You just read the articles. You don't even got to get on the message board and comment. Just read them. It really is a lot of fun and rage inducing at time, but it's fun. It's fun. I get on there and I pop off on people, but at the end of the day, it's all good.
Mike Singer's not a customer service guy. We found that out on the Loose
Yeah,
Notes.
yeah. Someone was like, Mike, you're in the right profession. Your customer service temperament. I was like, dude, do you see me? And like, do you guys think I answer the calls or respond to customer service emails? No, my job is reporting on Notre Dame news. Like that's what I do. So yeah, we had a big discussion on the board this week about commitments and people getting on their high horse about how dare these young men break their commitments. And I'm like, half the marriages in this country end in divorce, and we're going to sit here and get upset about high school football decommitments when a much more important commitment gets broken like it's nothing. And it could tear apart families and stuff, but we're all up in arms about a damn decommitment in football.
Dude, and the crazy thing is nowadays with commitments, half of those guys end up in the portal, whether it be undergrads or grad transfers. So.
Anyways.
Dude, I even had to call out some people on the board this week.
That's not like you,
I try not to be that guy, but I'm like, because people are just popping off on Ivan Taylor, and I'm like, man, like, if you knew my guy Ivan Taylor, like, you would not be saying these types of things about him. Like, I think people are just so spooked by what happened with Peyton Bowen 2 years ago that they are just, I mean, they are going to die about recruits visiting other campuses and things like that. But like,
and
Ivan Taylor is not Peyton Bowen.
it is a lot of it's merited. Yeah, they're totally different kids, for sure, and like in terms of like how they're handling this. But like I don't think Ivan Taylor like welcomed this like Peyton Bowen. Like we just live in an age where it's very difficult to do anything privately in terms of your recruiting process. So it's not like he's putting out all these graphics and bringing it on. It's kind of us that is. So anyways, all right, we will move along to the 13 official visitors. We're going to go through these pretty quickly because there are a ton. Jerome Bettis Jr. taking his 88th official visit. 88th visit to Notre Dame. Maybe it's double that. I don't know. Jerome Bettis Jr., Notre Dame wide receiver commit, locked in with the Fighting Irish. Davion Dixon, big interior defensive lineman. He had picked up offers from Georgia, Ohio State, and a bunch of others last year after giving his commitment to Notre Dame. I kind of thought for a while there that he might be someone who could end up decommitting. No, he locked in with the Irish in the spring, early in the spring, March or so, or maybe it was even earlier than that. But yeah, he said, nope, I'm all Notre Dame's. That's pretty cool. That's kind of the other end of the spectrum. We don't get to talk about a ton, but also I think Davion might have taken like a Miami spring practice visit with some buddies. Like he might have done a little bit of visiting, but when you take multiple official visits while as a commit at Notre Dame, you usually don't sign with the Irish. But streaks are meant to be broken. We'll see where it goes. We'll talk about that in a second. Elijah Burris, the son of Plaxico Burris, really liked him at Irish Invasion. Thought he had a nice day. Going to be I think a pretty solid like slot receiver for Notre Dame. I don't know if he'll ever be a number one receiver, but I think he can be like a really good number 2 or 3, in a couple years. So that's Elijah Burris. He's on campus this weekend. Ethan Long, safety, Brunswick School in Connecticut. Little underrated, Kyle. I think he's someone who, with a strong senior season, can shoot up the rankings in terms of some of these websites. We will keep an eye on him throughout his senior season. Looking forward to that. Ethan Long solid with Notre Dame. Justin Thurman, Tampa Jesuit, very solid with Notre Dame. I think this is his 10th visit to South Bend in the span of less than a year. Justin Thurman's up and on campus a bunch. Matty Augustine, Brunswick School, Ethan Long's teammate, 4-star offensive lineman. He's rock solid with the Irish. Official visit for him. And then we get to Tanook Hines from Houston to Caney, 5'11 and a half, 170 pounds. He's one of those receiver targets for the Irish. He's taken, this is now his third official visit to my knowledge. He went to USC the first weekend of the summer, that May 31st weekend. This past weekend, Texas, which I think was a surprise from what I am told, and then Notre Dame this weekend. There was a report from what's the guy? Who was at ESPN? I can't get Gary Hamilton, and he put out like 5 officials for Tanook, and they were all wrong. Like it was like Notre Dame May 31st, and no, Notre Dame never didn't have any official visitors that weekend. So I don't know why, like, because Tanook told him those dates. I don't know what that was about, but so those were kind of floated out there. So these are the 5 he's taking. No, it all got shifted up. So I don't know what he's going to do next. Tanook is not a big media guy, doesn't talk a ton. So I don't really know what he's going to do next. But those 3 schools, I heard he had a really good time at USC. Texas is an in-state school that he likes a lot. And then Notre Dame has felt really good about him since his spring visit. And I'm looking forward to seeing what sources have to say about Hines, and maybe I'll get to talk to him myself. We will see. Owen Strebig, Catholic Memorial in Wisconsin. Kyle, I'm just going to kind of run through these, and I'll get your thoughts. Locked in with the Irish. All 3 of Notre Dame's offensive line commits are on campus. Matt Freeman tweeted out the Knights watch when all 3 of those guys walked in to the Goog this morning. I'm going to up that. I'm going to say it's the Knights guard. The 3 offensive linemen commit are the Knights guard. And yes, I'm using the word Knights as in Deuce Knight. The Knights protectors. So there you go. Chris Burgess, defensive end for Notre Dame. I know you liked this post when I threw this on the board earlier this week. Like,
love that.
Yeah. So Burgess, when he committed to the Irish in January, I didn't think he was going to Notre Dame until like 2 or 3 days before that. A lot of folks at Notre Dame did not think that he was going to pick them either. They thought it was it Michigan or was it Ohio State that was the biggest contest? Like, that was kind of the feeling. He called up Notre Dame. I want to say it was a Friday, and maybe it was the Thursday, and he announced it on a Sunday at the All-American Bowl. And the feeling was like, all right, you won the battle, but will you win the war? Because these other schools are going to come after Burgess, and he's going to keep looking around. Wrong. That was a wrong sentiment. He commits to Notre Dame. He's been nothing but locked in. When Jadon Blair showed up Monday, to get into town for his official visit that started Tuesday, who was there greeting him in the hotel, Kyle?
Christopher Burgess.
I mean, I've not been able to talk with Burgess a whole lot. That's more of Kyle's guy that he talks to, but just seems like a fantastic kid and completely locking with the Irish, pulling for Chris Burgess.
Mike,
sure.
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, please.
I want to tell you how this commitment unfolded real quick. I don't think we've ever told this. I don't think I publicized it, but basically the way this recruitment happened was Christopher Burgess was down to Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame. Those were the 3 main ones to know. There were a couple other schools also involved. He was going to announce at the All-American Bowl on Saturday, January 8th. That's when his decision date was. And basically going in to when they were flying down to San Antonio, I think it was that Wednesday or Thursday, Chris had not made up his mind. He did not know where he was going to go flying into San Antonio. So it was a pretty stressful trip. It was meant to be like kind of an exciting time because he was going to announce his commitment at the All-American Bowl, but he didn't have his decision made. Well, you know who else was playing at the All-American Bowl? Bryce Young, the current Notre Dame defensive lineman who was signed on. And you know who was at the All-American Bowl with Bryce Young? His father, Bryant Young. And from what I've been told is that Bryant Young spoke to Christopher Burgess while he was in San Antonio. I don't quote me on the timing of this, or maybe they had talked before, but Christopher or Bryant Young, he was a Chicago Public League player, just like Christopher Burgess. That was a really big part of what led Burgess to Notre Dame. And something else that pushed that recruitment over the edge was Lauren Lando, believe it or not, Notre Dame strength and conditioning coach. Notre Dame had Burgess and his family on a Zoom call uh, pretty close up to when Burgess was going to be making his decision. That Zoom call took place sometime that week. They showed Burgess a plan on how they were going to develop him at Notre Dame. So I think we can credit Lauren Landau and Bryant Young for being the two people that pushed Christopher Burgess's Notre Dame pledge over the finish line. And since then, as you said, he's remained completely locked in despite every single power conference school in the entire country recruiting him before he committed on Notre Dame January 8th. He's been all Irish since then.
Love it. A question here from Joseph. He says, "Hi, Mike. I'm on your website. I do not see the Father's Day special." So Kyle tweeted this link, and it looks like so here. Oh crap! Here it is. So I click on the link. Looks like the URL. I can type it in the chat. So yeah, it's you're gonna have to click on it from our tweet or use that link I just typed in the chat. And yeah, there it is. It's just blue and gold annual gifts. So it I guess it's technically like a gift for a father, Kyle, but you can just gift it to yourself.
100% gift it to yourself.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, so you just click on that, give the gift of blue and gold, send an hour later, recipient email, recipient name, add a personal message. So get yourself a nice Father's Day gift, Joseph. So so there you go. I'm going to be a dad in October, but even if I weren't going to be, you can just gift yourself, a nice Father's Day gift. We're all a dad in some sense. We got a pet or, whatever. So there you go. So, yeah, I put it in the chat. And you can also just go to Kyle Kelly's tweet. Kyle, if you can just pin that on, if you haven't yet, just pin it on your Twitter. And so you guys can find it there at by Kyle Kelly. So Joseph, I hope you're still here and got to hear that message. Moving along. Yeah, this is Ivan Taylor's official visit weekend. Yeah, really notable one, guys, with news breaking last Friday that he was at Alabama for an official visit. And yeah, Michigan next weekend. So yeah, this is a big one. I've been doing some digging this week, and I really do feel like it's like a 50-50 thing that he's going to stick or not. He seems pretty interested in these other schools. The Chris O'Leary thing definitely impacted him. I think that's what opened the door, at least like cracked the door for other schools. And then once other schools were able to kind of get through the crack of the door busted open. If that metaphor kind of makes sense. We'll see. I don't know what else to add than it's an important weekend. Kyle, the picture that you tweeted out where he had a big smile on his face, that definitely makes you feel good, right? But we'll see.
I can share some background behind this photo if you would like.
Yeah.
So I will say when I think Ivan Taylor, I know Ike Taylor, his father, was the first one to roll off the bus this morning after arriving at the Goog at Notre Dame. And when him with Ike, Ivan's mom and Ivan all rolled off the bus, it almost looked like they were entering a business trip. Like they were all pretty focused, not showing much I don't want to say excitement, but they weren't really breaking character. Now Ike was. He's a really friendly guy, charismatic guy, but it just felt like this was a real business trip for Ivan Taylor. And then the Notre Dame, the staff had these guys line up outside the Goog as they were announcing them as they entered into the facility. And Ivan Taylor had a T-shirt on, and he was a little chilly, so he put on a sweatshirt. And I believe that's Ethan Longstad, whose back is facing the screen there on the left. And Ethan Long was making fun of Ivan Taylor for having to wear a sweatshirt when it's like 85 degrees in South Bend, Indiana today. So that kind of broke the tension, I guess. I wouldn't call it tension, but for lack of a better term, this morning, and got Ivan happy and excited, and just kind of it got the ball rolling for this weekend.
And that's Davion Dixon in the green shirt.
Yeah, he looks much different, doesn't he?
With a full beard. I'm jealous. I can't get this.
I try, and it looks terrible.
I mean,
I tried to
geez.
convince myself for 2 years that I can grow this on the sides, but I still can't.
Davion Dixon looks like a grown man who's like works at Notre Dame in the recruiting office. Like, geez. So, again, guys, Ivan Taylor. I don't know.
One more thought, Mike. I'll reiterate it from last week. This Notre Dame visit couldn't have come on a better time. I mean, maybe it could have if it happened next weekend before the dead period went into effect, but I'm not as worried about Michigan as Alabama. Ivan was at Florida this week. It was just like a team 7-on-7 thing. So
yeah,
I think if you're Notre Dame, you want an official visit right after Alabama.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about the Florida report. So yeah, he was there with the team high school 7-on-7, and he had said that he wants to get back early next week. It's like he said like Monday. So I'm like, all right, so you're literally gonna leave South Bend, go back home to the Orlando area, then drive up to Gainesville, which is only like probably a couple hours, but it's like, dang man, just throwing another school in there. So yeah, that's that. Again, guys. I mean, I feel like I've just talked about Ivan Taylor so much. I'm trying to come up with something new to say, but he's taking his official visit this weekend. You hope it goes really well, and you see where it goes from there. That's the gist here. Will Black, 5-star offensive tackle for on 3, locked in with the Irish. Someone who, yeah, Kyle, I don't know if you're going to interview him after this weekend, but good luck trying to think of something new to come up with, because I feel like we've been talking to him so much. Very, very talented, high upside offensive tackle for the Irish. Deuce Knight, someone in the chat said, how do you feel about all the Deuce clickbait stuff that's going on? Nick Dean, I am assuming you haven't watched any of my shows in the past week or two, because I feel like I talk about this every single video. But I'm going to throw this out there again for folks who haven't heard me talk about this. I've been trying all week to figure out where the hell this confidence from Ole Miss is coming from that they're going to flip Deuce Knight. I got no idea. Someone said in the chat earlier, "Yeah, Mike, did you hear he's visited Ole Miss 7 times?" No, I haven't, because I don't believe it. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know why. If Ole Miss people just think they're going to, and when I say Ole Miss people, the staff, reporters, fans, whatever, anyone on that side of things, if the only thing they've got in flipping Deuce Knight is he's a Mississippi kid, it's hard to leave Mississippi. I mean, he already did so once to go to Lipscomb Academy. The only reason he came back was because he's about to be ruled ineligible due to transfer rules in Tennessee. You can find that. Google it. It's out there. It's a Tim Hyde line right there. Just Google it. It's out there. So the kid's been on campus all week. He spent several days for Irish Invasion, and he's there this weekend with his parents. I very much get the sense that his parents want Notre Dame for Deuce Knight. Like, you know where Deuce's brother went to school? Indiana. Wow. I mean, he literally has a brother who's left the state of Mississippi and went to the Hoosier State. That's his brother. Deuce has seen it with his own 2 eyes. It's not like he left Mississippi to go over to Tuscaloosa or something like that. Alabama's, even closer to Loosedale than than Ole Miss is. It's not like he went to
He kind of did
another school in the South.
He kind of went to Alabama, Deuce's brother, in a sense. He played for the coaching staff there. The former Indiana coaching staff.
He played
for Nick
at
Shea,
IU.
Kalen DeBoer.
So, I've been saying this all week, folks. Could he flip? Hell yeah, he could flip. He could have a change of heart. But, like, right now, I just don't see any reason to think that he's going to. Like, there's no, like, tangible proof, unless I'm not in the know on this, and maybe he is going to, maybe he has, like, maybe he's Goku from Dragon Ball Z and has the instant transmission power where he can just go from here to here in the blink of an eye. Maybe he's in South Bend all June and then just instantly transmits down to Oxford and hangs out there and then just goes right back to South Bend. Maybe he's doing that. I don't know. But otherwise, I don't get it. He's in South Bend all month pretty much, right? I mean, he's got the Elite 11. He's got the Jacksonville thing with the Rivals 5-Star Challenge. Where's he visiting Ole Miss in June? July, dead period until the last week of July. I am guessing he's going to be up and back in South Bend. August, dead period. Fall camp. He's getting ready for senior year. Then the season starts. Maybe he could go to a game, but I bet you he goes up to Notre Dame 3 or 4 times more than he goes to Ole Miss this fall. Guarantee. So, again, could he flip? Could it happen? Sure, it could happen. But, like, I don't think so. I don't think it will.
I think the Ole Miss side is just trying to speak it into existence.
A little LeVar Ball.
Like, it's just, I mean, let's be honest. Deuce visited Ole Miss this spring. Now, the importance behind that visit and the meaning and everything like that, I mean, it was kind of a joke. It was like a pit stop, more or less. Like, so
he didn't do like a big recruiting visit. Yeah, he's just there with some buddies going to the 11.
If Deuce was serious, well, I think Deuce is serious about Ole Miss to an extent. But if he was really serious about Ole Miss, don't you think he would have taken that opportunity in Oxford to really get a sense of how things are working there? And really
look at Ivan. I'm sorry to cut you off, but look at what Ivan Taylor's doing. Deuce ain't doing that. Tom Lloyd tweeted out a video the other day from Deuce Knight at the OT7. You know what Deuce Knight said when he was just like walking by? What did he say? Go Irish. What's he tweeting about that 2026 receiver in Mississippi? I need him at ND. Big brain theory right here, folks. Deuce Knight saying I need him at ND, but really that means I need him in Oxford. Like, what the hell are we talking about, people? I just don't get it. The actions and the words line up perfectly for it to be all Notre Dame. But somehow people think it's Ole Miss. Which, again, could he end up there? Yes. But none of his actions or his words seem to think that it's going to be. So.
He's too invested in Notre Dame at this rate, is how I feel.
Yeah.
Who knows? He's built this class with Chad Bowden.
Mike almost hit the Brian Windhorst finger. Again, I might look like an idiot. I might get clipped by Ole Miss fans on this at the end of the cycle. We'll see, but I stand by everything I just said. So, moving along, Derek Meadows, huge official visit. Notre Dame, Michigan, Bama, LSU, Georgia. Yeah, so it's a big time recruiting battle. You got 4 schools that have won national championships in recent history, very recent history. And Notre Dame, I still feel like they're leading going into this trip. The school that's been on them the longest of this group by far. It's not even close. Kyle, you got to talk to his dad a couple days ago, and we're looking forward to hearing from him after the visit. What are you thinking about Derek Meadows, the nation's number 37 overall prospect, number 7 receiver, following his trip?
Well, I put this in my storylines article that I posted this morning at Blue and Gold, which that was a premium story once again. And I think you guys all know how to access those premium stories by now. But basically, every school is still in the mix for Derek Meadows as of now, and that's at least the way I interpreted it after my conversation with his father. And pretty much just a Cliff Notes version of why each school is involved was Alabama. He's really attracted to them because of what Jamarcus Shepard has done with wide receivers. And actually, ironically, Jamarcus Shepard was basically the first he was the first power conference coach to offer Derek Meadows in 2022 when he was at Washington. So that arguably has been a longer established relationship than Meadows' one with Notre Dame. But with that said, I think Meadows across the board has much stronger relationships with everyone on the Notre Dame staff, and they've been pushing him more consistently longer, which is why the sense that Notre Dame has been on him longer than any other school in his recruitment, despite Jamarcus Shepard giving him that early offer. So that's Alabama. LSU, they consider it wide receiver university. Steve Wilfong from On3 has mentioned on multiple occasions that Georgia is in it because Kirby Smart is Derek Meadows' favorite coach. And
oh, really?
Yeah, one thing I heard, or not heard, but one thing I learned this week in talking to Meadows' father is that Michigan's much more in this than what I would expected. And that is because the Meadows family, they are from Michigan. That's where they grew up. Mom grew up a little bit south of the Hillsdale area. There's a college there, Hillsdale College. It's right across the Michigan-Ohio line, and his dad is from Detroit. And their family is all Michigan fans. So they got some people in his corner pulling him to the Wolverines. I don't think that's going to affect his decision much. But that's why all 5 schools are in this race. And the reason that I think Notre Dame is going to win out on this recruitment is, number one, they've recruited him longer and harder than any other school. Number two, education is a major part of this recruitment, and I think we can all agree that Notre Dame can provide the best education of any of these 5 programs. Number three, they're really looking at the opportunity to contribute and make a difference. And I think out of those 5 programs, there's nowhere else Derek Meadows can do that better at Notre Dame. What Notre Dame has working against them, though, is, I mentioned this in the story, is basically look at Alabama and LSU. Like, for example, those 2 teams in the 21st century, high-powered offense, spread offense, quarterbacks throwing for 400 yards per game, wide receivers getting drafted in the first round. Notre Dame hasn't had that. But I think that Derek Meadows' father, based on my conversation with him, they see that happening at Notre Dame with Mike Denbrock being in the fold. So I think that they are considering the potential there, and I think that excites them and that intrigues them. So September 1st commitment deadline for Meadows. We'll find out by then, and certainly see if Notre Dame can really run away and become the pole position team as they were for most of this recruitment.
Before we started recording, Tyler, or you're in Tyler's apartment. Before we started recording, Kyle said this was gonna be a shorter show. Yeah, and you were like, "That's what we always say." And yeah, this one was not. So we're gonna have to go rapid fire here. Mark says, "If Deuce Knight decommits, I'm going off the radar and living off the land." I might have to as well.
Where are you going?
The moon? Is that what you said?
Is that what that means? I don't even know. Does that mean you're going to live in space or in the water or something?
Living off the land?
Yeah, what's that mean?
Like it's more like I'm going off the grid and like just gonna live on a farm life and like live off the land, the livestock and the vegetable, the veggies you grow and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good to
me. Michael said earlier, if just when you started a question with if in recruiting, why are you starting a question with if? I mean, these are big ifs. Someone on the message board yesterday said, if Geno and or Freeman leave, and if Notre Dame only throws for 1,000 yards, do you think Deuce Knight signs with Notre Dame? I'm like, are you serious? How do you expect me to answer that question? If Meadows, Robinson, Hall 1 in, does Notre Dame take all 3? Here's my answer to that question, Michael. Do a cartwheel, Thank your lucky stars. Just be very, very excited. Riley said, is Robinson a backup plan if we don't get Meadows? No, because they would. I think there's a scenario where both could be committed to Notre Dame.
100%.
So it's not like if you don't get Meadows, we're going to turn our attention to Robinson. Not really the case. Kyle, we're going to go super, super quick. I'm going to give you 30 seconds on each. Braden Jones, Chicago Mount Carmel, one of those unexpected visitors for Notre Dame this week.
Yeah, unannounced visit happened on Wednesday, I think, or maybe it was Tuesday with Braden Jones. And gosh, our loose emoji subscribers are probably ready to throw me off the Empire State Building by now for as long as I have teased making an RPM pick for Notre Dame with Braden Jones. I'm getting there. I just need to catch up with him after his visit. He was at Ole Miss yesterday, and then I'm going to reconnect with Braden. But I think Notre Dame is the team to beat. That was a sense coming out of the spring, and I have no other reason to think otherwise coming out of his latest trip.
2026 defensive line recruiting is looking really good. I mean, I feel like between like an Elijah Golden, Braden Jones, Mikael Blade, we'll talk about now, Gabriel Hill, some Chicago guy, like things look pretty good. So let's talk about Mikael Blade from Hillcrest in Illinois, 6'5", 230 pounds.
So I've kind of maintained that of the Chicago guys that are recruiting, Braden Jones, who we just mentioned, Mikael Blade, then there's Gabriel Hill from Naperville North in the Chicago area, that I feel most confident about Mikael Blade ending up in the class. Now, that is a bold statement because Mikael is not close to making a decision at all. He told me he actually wants to visit every single school that offers him. I don't know how realistic that is. I think Chris Burgess felt the same at one time, but this recruitment does feel a lot like Chris Burgess's, which is why I think Mikael Blade will end up ultimately choosing Notre Dame. He was at Notre Dame on Wednesday for a surprise visit, unannounced visit. I caught up with Mikael after. Check that story out. It's another premium one on blueandgold.com. And I'll put a little tease on here that there is something in this kind of in this recruitment right now that is going to end up happening that will favor Notre Dame. So we'll keep an eye on that with Mikael Blade. And I really like where the Irish are trending, although I don't think a decision is going to be made for at least another year or so.
We've been talking about this Braden Jones pick. It seems like you got another one to do.
I'm not ready for an RPM with Mikael Blade.
Just that tease. I don't even know what the heck that's about. So I'm intrigued.
We'll share.
All right. JC Anderson, Mount Zion indicator, tight end 2026.
I mean, this guy's got every power conference school in the country after him, pretty much. Ohio State's like the only one that hasn't offered him, and he was on their campus on Wednesday, I believe. But when JC Anderson visited Notre Dame back in November, his only offer was from Marshall. And now, like all these other power schools are involved. But the family and JC love Mike Denbrock. Made a tremendous impression here. And I kind of noted this in my story that I wrote about JC earlier this week on Blue and Gold, another premium story that I think with the way things are trending with Notre Dame tight end recruiting, I think JC Anderson will emerge and be the guy in the class. That's who I feel most confident right now. I get the sense that the recruitment has kind of been overwhelming for him, which is not a surprise because all these teams have come into the fold at once, and it's kind of been a lot to kind of try to duke out and figure out where he wants to visit and things like that. But I think that Notre Dame's made a strong enough impression that they're going to continue receiving his top interest.
Brady Edmonds, Huntington Beach, California. Now Notre Dame's already got their 25 and 26 quarterbacks committed. Going ahead to 2027, wrote an article on Brady Edmonds following his he camped for Notre Dame earlier this week, and I had someone on the message board saying when he signs, my daughter, who is not born yet, will be 3 years old, which is crazy to think about. That's how long, how long we're talking here, for this kid and how early this recruiting process. He's just going into his sophomore year. He's already a household name. He's listed at 6'5", 200 pounds. Let's just say that's embellished a little bit. Actually, let's say it's embellished a good bit. Let's say he's really just 6'3", 175 pounds. That's still going into a sophomore year. If he's anywhere close to 6'5", 200, it's wild. Notre Dame really like Brady Edmonds from what I'm being told. And whenever it comes time for Notre Dame to start offering some of these guys, I think will occur in like September, maybe October. Edmonds would be a guy that I think the Irish will call. And then just last, but certainly not least, is Brock Harris. So we're talking about all these underclassmen here visited Notre Dame this week. Brock Harris was there Monday, I believe. Number 48 overall prospect, number 3 tight end. Super long list of schools after him. He visited something like 7 schools in like 9 days or something crazy. So Notre Dame was one of the stops. He saw Wisconsin and Notre Dame the same day. Did like Michigan State the same day. So quick visits, but got his introduction to Notre Dame and did have a good time. So there's an hour of talking Notre Dame football recruiting. If you're just tuning in, rewind, watch the beginning of the show. We talked about the 3 midweek official visitors, 13 official visitors currently on campus. I did a good old Mike Singer meltdown, which I seem to do every single show, and then wrapped up talking some underclassmen on campus this week. So we will be back next Friday, I believe. It's hard to remember with everything going on. So I'm sure we'll have a ton to discuss next week. Make sure you guys check out that Father's Day deal. It's in the chat. Kyle pinned it on Twitter. Let's see, $1 for 1 year, or excuse me, $1 for a 2 months deal using promo code UND1. Like Drew says. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. Next week, I'm doing a show Tuesday night. Tyler Horka is debuting, or maybe I should say returning his show. That you'll see that backdrop where Kyle's at. Tyler's going to bring back his live show. We'll be doing it with Jack Sobel this year. That'll be Wednesday night this week. I can't do next Wednesday night for my show with Tim. So I'm doing a show Tuesday, and then Kyle and I will be back Friday afternoon. So D-Rock says, great show. Thank you. D-Rock, thank you very much for your kind words. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up before you get out of here. And as always, we will catch you guys next time.